name is Denisse Rodriguez. I work at the Academy for Scholarship and Entrepreneurship. From this course, I'll be able to use the play La Carreta by René Marquez. It's a piece of Spanish literature text and a visual resource that I can use in my classroom with my Spanish students. There's a lot of themes that it covers, and they relate to my students and they can identify with it. It's a study of the Puerto Rican experience of migration and how that's expressed in the literature of Puerto Ricans in New York. So we'll be looking at the 3 waves of migration and its literature and the Puerto Rican experience in New York. And I start out with the 1920s with 3 articles by Jesus Colón. And we're going to be looking at what are some strategies that an author can use to communicate and identify with their reader? Because this article, he uses a pen name of Marquis Tiquis, and he identifies with the readers. And he uses a we in his text, and he uses break speaking directly to the reader. And he creates a dialogue, and it kind of sounds, this article, like if it's an oral story. So after the kids read the 3 articles, they're going to be working in groups, and they're going to be assigned 1 article. And within their groups, they're going to summarize the article, identify what stereotypes of a Puerto Rican is presented in the article, and how does the author connect to you. Identify any phrases or colloquial language they know. What is the author's attitude or tone, and what message is the author trying to convey in the article. The text Jesus Colón writes is very unique because he's really pointing out the negative behavior of the Puerto Ricans, because he's trying to make them realize that he's trying to reject this behavior, make Puerto Ricans realize how they're acting and what image they're giving people. So that's what he's trying to do through these articles. They're going to, after they're done with that and they discuss it within their groups, the expansion is going to be, they're going to discuss the strategies that Jesus Colón uses, the exclamation points and the question marks, and how he creates all this dialogue with the reader. The expansion is going to be, they're going to write an article using the same techniques as Jesus Colón, but it's a response to Jesus Colón. Like if they're the Puerto Rican that he's criticizing and why they behave this way. Because Jesus Colón in the article doesn't really talk about the economic issues or any of the reasons why these negative conducts are taking place. So my students are going to be responding to him using the same strategy. Then moving on to the 2nd wave, I'm going to use La Carreta by René Marquez. And here I'm going to be looking at the different characters, and the aim is going to be what is the experience of the characters of the ox cart. Yeah, this was difficult for me. I didn't know if to write the lesson plan in Spanish or in English. So I was going back and forth.
Do you usually teach in English or in Spanish?
It depends on the class. This is for an advanced placement class, first of all, and I teach it in Spanish.
Okay.
So I tend to write my lesson plans in Spanish, most of it, and the development and procedure parts in English in case my principal has to read it in my AP. All right. Where they're going to read La Carreta. The motivation is, what is the relationship between Puerto Rico and the United States? Why do people decide to leave their country? And what has been your experience or the experience of someone you know as an immigrant to the United States? That's just to get them started and to see what background they have in Puerto Rico. And of course, I give them some background about La Carreta, about Puerto Rico. We discuss it. Students will read the play. Once they read the play, they have to complete the story map. I don't know if you guys have seen it in English. A lot of English teachers use it. I just did it in Spanish. That's only different. So they complete the story map and kind of helps them just summarize what they just read. Then I'm going to divide the students into groups of 4, and each group will be assigned 1 character, a main character from the play. And each group will have a team leader, recorder, a visual producer, and a speaker. Each group will have to prepare a presentation based on their assigned character, and the presentation will include adjectives that describe their character along with evidence from the text that supports the adjective used. What is the character's attitude towards living in New York? Summarize the character's experience as a migrant to New York. As students will also have to present this and also submit written responses. What else? Okay. For evaluation, ask questions, discussion questions for evaluation. An expansion. What I have for expansion is okay. For an expansion, they have to use the articles that they read by Jesus Colon and compare them to the characters in La Carreta. So since there's a lot of stereotypes in the articles of Jesus Colon, they can take one of the characters from La Carreta and compare both texts. And then my final text that I use, and this would probably, I only did one lesson, but this would take various lessons because it's a novel, is Cuando era Puertorriqueña by Esmeralda Santiago. And my aim is, how does the literature of the third wave of Puerto Rican migration portray the experience differently from that of the first and second wave? So this would be at my very end of the whole unit of reading Cuando era Puertorriqueña. And first we will discuss the novel as a whole, because by now they finished reading it. We will discuss what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it. We will discuss what type of text it was. This text is different from the other ones. It's autobiographical, so it's more on her perspective, more individualized. All right, they're gonna start a final project, which is, as an ending to the unit, you will be writing an essay answering the aim. So they're gonna be comparing this third wave to the first two. So before starting your essay, you will work in groups to create two Venn diagrams, comparing and contrasting the first and second wave to the third wave. Some topics to consider comparing are tone and attitude of author, reasons for migration, the migrant challenges that the author emphasizes, and literary techniques used by the author. Your essay must include examples from the text used in class. And then they're gonna peer edit, and after they've submitted their essays, which will take a couple of days, they're gonna have a whole class discussion answering the aim and what their opinions are.